if you've been seeing pretty much any news, even tangentially related to the Oscars, you probably know what happened between Will Smith and Chris Rock. So this podcast, I'd like to talk about that and kind of get into brand management, showcasing that personality that you and your company already have online, and trying to do so in a way that highlights the pros while not really getting into the, staying out of things that can be harmful for your brand, right? But yeah, those are the things that we're going to be covering in today's episode of the BB&J podcast. I'm your host, John Lind, and yeah, let's get right into it. So, Oscars, things can get kind of emotional at times. Chris Rock made some comments about Will Smith's wife that Will certainly didn't appreciate, and Will responded by walking up on stage and slapping him in the face. The night continued on largely as if that hadn't happened. I think some people were kind of surprised. Some people thought it was staged. I mean, this is still late breaking. Maybe it was. Probably not. But like with social media and the way it works, sometimes things are for PR, even if it's controversial, even if it's sometimes considered negative. That's just the world of public relations, right? Of brand, of staying relevant. So I don't want to dwell on that too much. As I said, every station, every news outlet and their mothers have been talking about it, right? But I do want to talk about if you have a brand, if you are a company, you want to be showcasing your personality, right? And I personally would recommend stay fairly light, stay educational, informative. Just be aware and mindful of the social rules, what are appropriate and inappropriate topics. And my rule of thumb would be, if someone stumbles across your page, your account, and sees a piece of content that you put out without any context, without knowing who you are, how are they going to view it? If they're going to have a strongly negative reaction, especially if you have a smaller account where you're trying to grow your audience, you want to steer away from that kind of thing, because you're going to have a lot of people who don't know you, who don't know your brand, who you want to get them to get to know your brand. And you want to be the brand where you're the expert in your field, where you're the curator of information, where you add value to them. And this, like unproductive, you could say destructive content doesn't really accomplish that, right? So I would say, above all, make content that provides content that is context, right? This is something that Gary Vee talks a lot about. I believe the quote that you often see from him is, if content is king, context is God. Another one is, the context of content is important. If you're putting out content, give it proper context. And yeah, above all, showcase your authentic as you can get for the online platform personality. Because more than anything, people want to work with a person. People want to buy from a person, right? That's why you have sales staff and not just a robot kiosk. In a lot of settings, are the people who just want to get in and get out? Yes. but people want a voice, a humanized brand that they're working with. That's why even if you have like the CGI main characters, they still have their own personality, right? It feels like you could meet them on the street and have a conversation with them, right? So that is something that if you have content, if you're thinking about getting into content, those are some things I think to be aware of. Temperance and caution is kind of the takeaway. But that's just kind of what I wanted to talk about this week. If there's any other crazy current events, absolutely let me know, and I'll do my best to address it and provide the context of why this is important for marketing, why this is important for your brand, more importantly. But other than that, I'd like to thank you so much for listening and or watching. Hopefully do a little bit of both. Make sure to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Stay obviously to keep a lookout for our variety of content that we try to generate for you all. But other than that, I'll see you next week.